Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is absolutely crucial for, well, pretty much every business out there right now. We are unpacking India's landmark data protection law, and we're doing it using an incredibly actionable compliance guide put together by the cybersecurity experts at Lumiverse Solutions. Look, if you're a founder, an executive, or an IT pro, you already know that data privacy isn't just a legal checkbox anymore. It's a core business strategy. So we're going to break down exactly what this law means for you and make this complex regulation totally accessible. Okay, let's dive into this. Our roadmap for today covers 5 key areas. First, we'll get the DPDP Act explained, then figure out exactly who needs to comply, look at the true cost of noncompliance, walk through 6 actionable steps to get you there, and finally, look at the real-world impact and action for your business. All right, part 1, the DPDP Act explained, because naturally, before we can operationalize anything, we got to know exactly what we're dealing with. Think about it for a second. Is your biggest asset actually a risk? Every organization today collects, processes, and stores personal data, right? Customer details, employee records, all those user analytics, that data is undoubtedly a massive modern business asset. It drives your marketing, your sales, everything. But with growing digital adoption and, unfortunately, a rise in data misuse and breaches, this exact same asset has morphed into a massive liability. Literally, if you aren't protecting it, your biggest asset is actively working against you. Enter the DPDP Act 2023. This is India's landmark data protection law. Basically, it strictly regulates how organizations collect, process, store, and protect the personal data of individuals to ensure their privacy rights. And I really want to emphasize this. This is a landmark regulation from the government of India designed to hold organizations accountable. It totally shifts the landscape. Proper data handling is no longer just a recommendation, it is an absolute trust-building and risk management necessity. To truly get a grip on the DPDP Act, you have to look at its core philosophy, which is built on 6 critical principles. First up, consent-based data processing. You need explicit permission. Second, purpose limitation. You can only use the data for the specific reason you originally asked for it. Third is data minimization. Only collect what you absolutely need, nothing more. Fourth, you have to ensure the accuracy of the data. Fifth, storage limitation, meaning you can't just keep it forever, delete it when the purpose is fulfilled. And sixth, accountability of data fiduciaries. That basically means the buck stops with your organization to prove you're actually doing all of this correctly. Which brings us to part 2. Who needs to comply? It's the immediate question every exec asks when a new regulation drops, right? Does this actually apply to us? And this brilliantly illustrates the reality. The short answer is almost everyone. If you're a domestic Indian entity, whether that's a startup, an SME, a massive enterprise, e-commerce, healthcare, financial, you are in. But here's the kicker. Physical location does not exempt you. If you are a global entity, a foreign company and handling any data of Indian users, you absolutely must comply. The net is cast incredibly wide here, so there are very few places to hide. So what happens if you decide to roll the dice and ignore it? Let's move to part 3 and look at the cost of non-compliance, because the stakes are wildly high. Up to 250 crore rupees. Yeah, let that sink in for a second. That is the maximum penalty per violation. If your organization fails to protect personal data or mishandles user consent, you are staring down business-ending financial penalties. It's a staggering figure designed to ensure data privacy is taken just as seriously as financial fraud. But writing that massive check is honestly just the beginning. Beyond the fine, you're looking at severe legal actions and stressful, drawn-out government investigations. You're facing huge business disruption while your systems are audited. But perhaps the most devastating cost of all, the permanent loss of customer trust and severe reputational damage. Consumers are super privacy aware today. When you realize that compliance actually reduces insider threats and unauthorized access, it becomes crystal clear. Compliance is ultimately way, way cheaper than a breach. Okay, we know the why. Let's shift to the how. Part 4. 6 steps to compliance, an actionable, operational roadmap. Let's move to and see how this builds into a cohesive strategy. This is the overarching 6-stage DPDP compliance journey developed by the folks at Lumiverse Solutions. It flows super logically, from discovery and mapping to audit and risk, through consent management, over to protection controls, setting up incident response, and finally, continuous monitoring and governance. Let's break down exactly what you need to do at each stage. So, jumping into the foundational first 3 stages. Stage 1 is discovery and mapping. Listen, you can't protect what you don't know you have. You have to identify all data sources, map how that data flows across your systems, and classify what's sensitive. Stage 2, audit and risk assessment, is where you find your weak spots. You need to conduct VAPT, vulnerability assessments and penetration testing, identify weak access controls, and evaluate your third-party vendor risks. Then, stage 3 is consent management. This is where you ensure explicit, transparent user approval by updating privacy policies, implementing clear consent banners, and, this is crucial, giving users an easy way to withdraw their consent. Moving to the final 3 stages. Stage 4 demands robust data protection controls. You need to be encrypting sensitive data, implementing strict role-based access so only the right people see the right data, and locking down endpoint security. But you still have to prepare for the worst, right? So stage 5 is incident response. You need a rock-solid plan to promptly detect and mitigate breaches, clear protocols for reporting to authorities, and you actually need to run simulations to test your readiness. Finally, stage 6 ensures this isn't just a one-and-done project. Monitoring and governance requires regular audits, ongoing employee training, and potentially appointing a dedicated data protection officer to keep you compliant long-term. Now, to successfully execute those 6 stages, the source material highlights some absolute non-negotiable best practices. Adopt a zero-trust security model. Literally, never trust, always verify. Use AI-driven monitoring tools because they catch anomalies way faster than humanly possible. Strictly limit your data collection to what's necessary. Secure your APIs and cloud systems. Those are huge weak points. And lastly, don't try to go it alone. Partner with proven cybersecurity experts. Let's move into our final section, Part 5, Real-World Impact and Action. Let's take all this abstract legal talk and ground it into concrete business reality. So the crucial point is how this actually looks in practice. Check out this real-world e-commerce example. This company is handling names, addresses, payment info, the whole shebang. By following the framework, they implemented a consent-based checkout, they completely encrypted their payment data, and they started running regular VAPT testing. And the result? Not only did they drastically reduce their risk of a breach and those 250 crore fines, but they significantly boosted customer trust. They literally turned a legal compliance headache into a competitive advantage. Which perfectly tees up this powerful quote from the Lumiverse Guide: "Compliance is not optional, it's strategic." This act is a major shift. The businesses that act early, build strong data governance, and invest in their cybersecurity, those are the ones going to win in the marketplace. You aren't just dodging fines. You're signaling to the world that you are a highly reliable custodian of their digital assets. But to pull off a strategy this complex, you really need an expert guide in your corner, and Lumiverse Solutions is positioned perfectly for that. They aren't just theorists. We're talking 12-plus years of real-world experience, over 1,500 cybersecurity audits investigating more than 850 cybercrime cases, and delivering upwards of 4,500 awareness sessions. They provide end-to-end framework implementation, starting from readiness assessments all the way through to continuous VAPT and security monitoring. Like they say, they don't just audit, they secure, implement, and optimize. Which leaves us with one final critical question for you as we wrap up this explainer today. Are you just waiting around for a breach to happen, or are you actively building a strategic advantage? Please, don't wait for a devastating penalty or a massive loss of trust to force your hand. The time to lock down your digital future is right now. Take action, get your governance in order, and definitely consider booking a free consultation with Lumiverse Solutions to get your DPDP compliance assessment started. Keep learning, stay secure, and I will see you in the next explainer.